Hello. I guess we will make this a 2.5 version since my last stream just cut off. Let's take a look, make sure that we're showing good. Okay, looks like we're live now. Alright, I could have ended the stream early, but I did want to just show that, alright, that I can do this get endurance check. So endurance, battle manager, endurance check enemy, endurance 25% check enemy. Why is it not showing up? I guess you cannot call macros to other blueprints like you can a function. Like I can call speed check. Yep. So it looks like that's just a difference between a function and a macro. Yes, I believe macros you cannot call. Okay. That's fine. I can just do function. Because I'm going to need it. I'm going to need to be able to call this function. I'm just going to call it the same as the macro, just with func at the end. And I'm going to take the same logic. I'm looking at it because I'm calling these things enemy selected, which is being updated as, you know, when the player is selecting which enemy to hit. So it should work. It shouldn't have any issues because we are selecting the enemy at that point. So it should work. I'm going to want an output. So we're just going to take this output right here. What do I want to call it? Less than 25. Okay, so now I should be able to call that. Yep, there we go. So now we have a true or false. Is the enemy's endurance less than 25? So now we can do a branch connected to that condition. And then we can say it is not less than 25, they are blocking. But if it is less than 25, then they are getting hit. I guess we don't need that anymore. Just put it as that, and hopefully that will work. Yep. All right, so if it works, I will recap what it did. So that way we are good. Okay, so we should see a block initially, and then once the enemy's endurance goes to 0, then we should see that they take a hit. So blocking particles, it's now less than 25%, so when I do it now we should see the hit particle. There we go. We did it. Cool. So what did I realize? I realized when I was checking my issuing damage function, which is basically controlling how much, when damage needs to be issued, how much, based on attacks and everything, I noticed that I had a macro called endurance 25% check enemy. So this is something that I built to say, hey, I need to find out, sorry, that's the function. Hey, I need to find out, based on the enemy you're selected, what's their current endurance, how much is it against their times 25, or times 0.25, so that way I know what 25% is. So that way it gets me true or false. So then I realized, oh, I already have the formula that calculate that right here, so I don't need to do anything special or different. I already have what I want. So I was coming over here, trying to call the macro, forgetting that macros cannot be called from blueprint to blueprint, but functions can. So I just made a function version of that same macro, called it func at the end, so that way I'll know that this one is the function variant. It outputs the true or false. So now I can call it over here. And I named it less than 25, so that way I know, are they less than 25% or not? If they are, then they're going to get hit. And if they're not, then they're going to block. So there we go. Now we have it to where he blocks, the enemy blocks if they have the endurance. And they take a hit if they don't. So there was the block, and here comes the hit. And there you go. So as you can see, we are still a long way from, more visual cues to the player to know what's a block and what's a hit. Obviously, the enemy is not animated. The enemy is just a still frame picture. So there's no interaction to the player with that. The block particle is a little small. From what I can see, it's a little hard to notice. The hit particle looks pretty good. I think that looks pretty noticeable. And I mentioned this on the last stream, I'm definitely going to take the approach of, and, this is probably something that is pretty much in every game. It's just something that I've really noticed with Guilty Gear Strive, especially with a counter hit. With a counter hit, it's like big camera shake and whoa, like, oh my goodness, there's so much weight behind the player's attack against their opponent. That's like, oh my goodness, they're taking such a massive hit. That's definitely what I'm going to be aiming to achieve with this as well. I'm definitely going with a, hey, these guys are using swords to fight each other. I don't know if you can really tell what the enemies, like what they got, slung around their shoulder, but that's a samurai sword. Same thing that the player's using. But I really wanted to make it to where, like, when they get hit, it's big. Like, I wanted it to be about a game about blocking and, endurance management, I guess is what you could call it, for the player and for the enemies. Like, oh no, I'm almost out of endurance. If I take a hit, it's going to be a lot of big damage. That's kind of what I want to represent with this game. Because obviously, you could probably tell with my character design on my players and enemies, I'm a big samurai fan. Love samurais. Way of the Samurai on the PlayStation was like my favorite series growing up playing. So I wanted to like incorporate those kind of elements into a 2D RPG game because I thought it'd be pretty cool. So yeah, kind of rambling. All right, so what did we achieve so far? We got the attack dash. We changed it to a teleport, so that way when the dust particles show up, it actually looks appropriate. So we changed that. We got the hit block done. So really, I have tackled what I wanted to tackle today for this stream. So next time, going to be working on the rest of the animations. As I mentioned earlier, I had forgotten the dash back, because like right now, when he moves back, he dashes after the attack, he dashes back, but he just kind of shows up again. He just kind of teleports back. Yeah, so got to do that animation. Then we're going to have to incorporate the follow-up, so you can do additional attacks. And the follow-up attacks, and just to show viewers what I'm referring to, in case this is their first view. So it's like this one, we got no follow-up, so they just attack, player attacks, goes back. But the player, at least how I'm envisioning it, is they can spend endurance to do some follow-up attacks. So he's doing 1, 2, 3. And funny enough, I didn't have that kind of follow-up in mind when I was first building it, but as I was doing the silhouette animation, I was like, oh, I think it'd be pretty cool if he threw in a couple of little attacks, little extra attacks. And I was like, yeah, that could be an endurance mechanic, if the player, wants to try and finish off the enemy here and now because the enemy's on low enough health and they have the endurance, they can use it to spend to do a follow-up attack. So I will still have to implement that as well. So, all right. At this point, I will go ahead and end the stream. And I plan on doing another recording on Friday. So, thank you for those who watched. And as I mentioned, you can leave comments on YouTube. I will definitely read them, respond to any I can. I want to answer questions. I'm definitely doing this because I want the feedback. I want to know how my game is looking and how it's looking to people right now, and eventually get to the point where I can have people get their hands on it, play it, see how they like from that, and take it from there. So this is DDJJ. DDJJ.